Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. You found good in abundance because you tuned into Eye on Las Vegas with your humble host, Barry Shore, the ambassador of joy, and we welcome you to this remarkable place. Yeah, it's not just this place on the podcast, but this place called Las Vegas. It is pulsating with energy, and the whole, you can smell freedom in the air. Just to give you a sense of what Las Vegas is, because everybody in the world knows the town, the city called Las Vegas. We have so many visitors here every year that if you take the entire population of New York City, 19 plus million people, and you sprinkle in the entire population of greater Los Angeles, 13 million people, and you sprinkle into that on cherry on top, the entire population of greater Chicago, 9 million people, it doesn't equal the amount of people that come to Las Vegas from all over the world. Over 41 million people come here to visit because this is a place that is happening, and we have happening beings. I'm happy to introduce to you one of the more dynamic, amazing, bountiful, beautiful, beneficent people that I've ever had the pleasure of interacting with, and her name is wonderful Marla Letizia. Marla, please say hello to 406,828 people around the world.
Hello, hello, hello. Wow, they all need to come to Las Vegas, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I got to tell people, you're the essence of Las Vegas in the sense of everything that Marla does is done with excellence. Okay. It's done with forethought. It's done with class. She's beautiful. She's beneficent. And she's been here since she's 2 years old.
Correct.
Now, and that means she's more than 2 decades here in the city. So she's seen it grow and change. I just want to introduce Marla to the audience because what she's working on right now really touches everybody in the world. And it doesn't matter where you are in the world. You could be literally in Pakistan. You could be in Bali. You could be in Uganda. And you can utilize what Marla has been working on, which is called long life. Everybody wants that, right? Who doesn't want a long life? You know something? Let's begin with the beginning, though. Marla, talk to us about what you do and who you are in this remarkably vibrant community called Las Vegas.
Well, I grew up here. When my family moved here, I mean, really, I should go all the way back. My grandfather was an immigrant. Well, he was not an immigrant. His parents were immigrants from Poland that came to Chicago. And of course, like most kids who were born in 1913, he made it to the 8th grade and then had to drop out in order to help support his family at 14 years old. And, you know, in those years, in 1918, leading into the 20s, it was the Roaring Twenties, and he found work running numbers for the mob as a child in Chicago. Yeah. Probably owned by, Al Capone in those days, who was very much running Chicago. And then he grew into dealing in the speakeasies. And when they arrested Al Capone and shut down all of the gaming, the illegal gaming in Chicago, my grandfather, who then was in his late 20s, almost 30, didn't know how to do anything else. He tried to be a truck driver, but I don't know what Jewish man is a good truck driver. He wasn't. Got his truck caught under a bridge and couldn't get it out. I remember hearing that story. But he realized in the late 1940s that gaming was legal in Las Vegas, and it was something he had been doing since he was a little boy. So he came out to Las Vegas and got a job at the Tropicana Hotel on the dealing craps. He was a boxman, and then the rest of the family followed, to the extent that when my children were born in 1981 and 83, we had 5 generations on the planet here in Las Vegas.
Okay, so I have to unpack something because this is highly unusual. Why I wanted Marla to speak about it, because Las Vegas is a transient place. People are coming through here to here all the time. As I said, it has the smell of freedom. And I got that from a friend of mine who relocated his company from Los Angeles, where the oppressive political structure was crushing him. And can I go where I can really build my business and feel like I can do something? And looked around and said, Las Vegas. They've been here 3 years. He's grown his company fivefold, because that's what happens here. People come and they feel that this is a place where the vibe, the energy that used to be in California is really here in Las Vegas. People think it's a desert, but it's a blooming desert. So now let's talk about Marla and your husband and what you do in Las Vegas, because you do some really great stuff.
Well, I mean, listen, I'm 71 years old. So I've had, 8 decades of a life here. In my 20s, I was part of the news team. I had a talk show. I did the weather. I was part of the anchor team. I syndicated a news series nationwide called The Parenting Network. Laura Mar Telepictures was the syndicators of that at the time. I sold that ultimately to Laura Mar. Then I became a stay-at-home mom and helped just raise my children. When my children were young, I mean, there was not daycare, there was nothing. And even though my whole family lived here, I just didn't have that kind of help. And so I was a stay-at-home mom until my daughter at age 18 went off to college. And my husband, who handled Oscar Goodman's first mayoral campaign in 1999, utilized a mobile billboard truck from one man who owned a truck throughout the entire campaign. And when he told me that he had hired this mobile billboard to assist in the marketing of Oscar's campaign, sorry, my dog is out the door barking, wanting to come in here. I said to my husband, why did you do that? I hate those things. And Oscar's going to be so mad how you're spending his campaign money. But I watched how this product was responded to by the general public. And everywhere that truck went with a picture of Oscar on it and vote for Oscar, people just came out. The truck became known, or Oscar became known at that time. If you were looking to find Oscar, just look for the truck. You would know where the fundraiser is. You would know where the debate was, because the truck would be there. So 2 years later, actually a year later, in 2000, we bought the company, which was basically one man.
Wait a minute. I need to put you on pause just for a moment. I want to make everybody aware that we're dealing with pre-internet. In other words, you created a phenomenon because you realized that you actually touched people where they were. You engaged people. And now you go and buy the company. There's a famous book, right? About remember the company was called Remington Shavers. Mr. Kayem said, I liked the company so much I bought it.
Yeah,
built it. So
exactly.
Marla,
but also, there's media. So social media is media. It's still, voice and pictures. Radio is voice. It's moving media. But outdoor, which is what the mobile billboard was, outdoor media, was very interesting to me because I'd never been an outdoor. And what I saw as creativity in the back of my mind is that the outdoor billboard industry was very limited by geographic section as to where it could go and what it could do. But outdoor keeps people's attention. And so I realized, with all the taxi tops going up and down Las Vegas Boulevard, that the mobile billboard at 10 feet by 20 feet instead of 18 by 36 inches as a taxi top could really impact and get people to the shows, the restaurants, the retail, etc. And so I went out convincing the hotels that this was the best product ever invented. And it took me 5 years to convince them of that, because I got more doors slammed in my face and more no's than any human being has probably ever got. But when the market turned on to the product, I went from being crazy to being a genius. And that I stuck with it for those 5 years until people bought into my vision. even amazes me to this day.
So I want to mention another person. We're going to name drop here, who went from crazy to genius, and he actually made a series called The Crazy Ones. His name is Steve Jobs. Mm-hmm. Steve Jobs, everybody knows him, the iPhone, and he made a series of videos called Think Different, and it's called about the crazy ones. The Picassos, the Einsteins, the Marlas of the world. And I urge everybody to understand, one of the reasons I really wanted Marla to be here today is to give you all that boost, that perseverance, the positivity, the purposeness, the pleasantness. No matter how many doors are slammed or people say no, the NO is surrounded by a K and a W. So the NO really stands for no, meaning, yeah, I know where I'm going and you're going to get there. So not only did Marla go to genius, but guess what? Did you actually sell the company and make money?
We did. Yeah, we in my first year, when, and my CPA actually was one of those that thought, oh, her kids went off to college and she's just doing something now. But when he came in at the end of the year and saw how much money we made, he said, you guys are in trouble. We need to do something, or you're just like,
you're like a slot machine paying off.
Yeah. Yeah. So we had to restructure our companies and this, that, and the other. Listen, we had a couple of tough years as well. And that again takes perseverance to get through it. But yeah, we were a very, very, very profitable company up to the point that I sold it in 2013. And I'm not unhappy to listen. Everything has a moment in your life, and I think I can't think of his name, but the famous country singer. You got to know when to hold them, and know when to fold them.
Kenny Rogers.
Kenny Rogers, yeah.
By the way, who was one of the great stars of Las Vegas.
Of Las Vegas, yeah. I used to go to the
headliner for years.
Used to go to the Hilton and see him all the time. But I stuck with that company probably 2 or 3 years longer than I should have, because there was a lot of competition. There was no barrier to entry of the mobile billboard business. Anybody with a truck could come in and compete with you on price. I couldn't lower my prices because I had 120 employees. I had diesel gas that I was paying for. It was a lot. So I literally sold probably 3.5 years later than I should have. But, it is what it is. And it was a good lesson. I was emotionally attached to the product.
Oh, wait a minute. This is something I want to put you on pause for a moment. This is a critical moment in what Marla is about to tell people all over the world. It is imperative that you fall in love with what you do, but try not to fall in love with your product, because you can't divorce yourself from it.
Correct. And that was my lesson. That truly was my lesson. I could have sold out to the right person for the right amount of money at the right time, but I hadn't reached my goal with the product. This is a very interesting conversation because I haven't ever had it with anybody. In fact, I didn't even know that this was the lesson, but thank you, Barry, because it's bringing it forward. That was, thank you. Cause I'm like, I actually asked myself, why the hell did I go through all that? But now I know, because the lesson is fall in love with what you do, but don't fall in love, with what it is you are doing. Yeah. And, but anyway, after it was all over, I had a freedom that I hadn't ever had in my life. I had nowhere to go, nowhere to be. I would walk down to the edge of my driveway and not know whether I would turn right or turn left, because I had nowhere that I literally had to be. And we have a property in Laguna. So I remember being in Laguna, and I went down to the edge of the street, which was called Broadway, a busy street on the 133 in Laguna. And I'd say to myself, okay, well, am I going to make a right today, or am I going to make a left? Now, I am not somebody who ever tied into my soul and into my inspiration. I was somebody who was always thinking. I was always thinking, okay, this is my plan for the day, and this is what I'm going to do, regardless of whether the Almighty came and threw a boulder in front of me, I would find a way to get around it and, not listen. And for the first time in my life, I actually started to listen, and I would make a right, and I would end up in a store, and I would see things, and my soul began to regenerate. And
Okay, wait a minute. That's a great note to put on pause for a moment. We have a great sponsor that loves the show. It's a 45-second commercial. Don't go away, because we're going to go into the soul of Marla. We'll be right back after this brief break.
What if you could shop at your favorite local stores, swipe your current credit card, and get extra cashback rewards? And what if you could also have donations sent to your favorite cause at no extra cost to you? What if this amazing program was absolutely free and very simple to set up? Well, What If is here. Welcome to Einstein Cares, where your everyday shopping gives you and your favorite cause extra money. It's fast, it's easy, and effortless.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. It'll be a good-looking show is looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. Her name is Marla, and she is taking us on this amazing journey, going through ups and downs and building and growing and selling and this. And now she's getting in touch with her real inner self. So now what's going on, Marla? You're actually listening to yourself?
Right. Surprising, huh? So what happened is my daughter and her husband were found out that they were expecting a baby about a month before I actually was done with the company and transitioning. And I realized that, she's a judge now. She wasn't then. She was working in a public defender's office. But, she's having a baby and she has nobody to take care of it. And like everybody, nothing is more important to me than my family. And once she said to me, so you're going to help take care of a baby one day when I have it? And I said, listen, I took care of you guys. I'm not interested in taking care of your kids. I own a company. I'm busy. That's not in my plans. But that was a lie. And I went to my daughter and son-in-law like 2 or 3 weeks after I was done with the company and after I finished, listening to my heart and to my soul. And I said, I'm going to make a commitment to you that for the first year of this baby's life, I'm going to take care of her every day. And so I did. And what happened to me is, aside from all these beautiful things, just beautiful art and beautiful books and beautiful everything coming into my heart, my granddaughter would wake up every afternoon from her nap at 2:00, and I would have to feed her. My daughter was pumping at the time, so I had to get all that ready and, whatever. And I would sit down and start to feed her. Well, the first 2 days that she was with me, I would turn on the TV and up would come the news or whatever channel it was on, the night before. And it was just bad energy. I was like, I don't want to listen to this. This is just not what I want to listen to when I'm taking care of this baby. She's going to feel that energy in the room. And so I watched Frozen because I hadn't seen it before. But how many times can you watch Frozen? Once. So then it was like, what's next? And I recollected that while my daughter was in labor, that she had on the Food Network. And I remember kind of glancing up at it and watching it. And so I thought, well, if it was good enough for her during labor, it's going to be good enough for me when I'm giving this baby a bottle. And coincidentally, every day at 2 p.m., Ina Garden, the Barefoot Contessa, would come up on TV. And talk about a beautiful soul. That woman, I would watch her cook for a half hour, and everything about me just opened. And I would literally weep. I would literally cry as she's cutting it, putting fennel into, I mean, it was the most beautiful, and I'm a very visual learner. So I always, the joke in the family is that, I mean, my family hated my cooking. I cooked every night because I felt it was my duty to do that for them. Problem was, every night they wanted to order pizza because it was better. They hated my cooking. And in fact, it was so bad when they were teenagers, I ran away from home for 3 days because they were so mean about it. I mean, everybody laughs at that. Don't worry about me. I went to the Bellagio for 3 days and had a wonderful time. But I did. I just couldn't take it anymore. I ran away from home when they were young teenagers. And so all of a sudden, I woke up in the middle of the night at 2 a.m. and I could not get that leg of lamb that Ina Garten had made the night before out of my head. And we live in a 24-hour town. And before you moved here, Barry, before COVID, the grocery stores were open 24 hours a day.
Right.
And so I got up at 2 o'clock in the morning and ran to the market and bought a leg of lamb. And I started cooking. And my family would come for dinner and they fell in love with my cooking. And my whole world opened up. And my granddaughter calls me Nanny Bubby. And so I just, being in TV, and I was cooking on Facebook, and I got invited to consider going on Channel 8 and doing a cooking segment on Channel 8. And I've been doing a cooking segment on Channel 8 for the last 5 years. I'm known as Nanny Bubby on that segment. My website, nannybubby.com, has all my recipes.
This is so wonderful. I just want to interrupt for a moment because you mentioned in the beginning that your food was not that palatable to your family. Food is the most intimate relationship that people can have with each other.
Yeah.
It's very nice to go to a fine restaurant and such. There's nothing wrong in the least. But home cooked food that is made with vitamin L, love. It transcends the actual food. It creates an atmosphere of growth and unity and coming together and fun. It's so wonderful. I'm glad that happened, that you recognize that by holding this precious baby and listening to negativity was never going to be that's not a place to be. And that you found something positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Speaking of that, let's make another segue into what you're doing now, because I find this to be all embracing. It is, again, everybody that's listening around the world, it's something that Marla is a wordsmith, and she's capable of building and creating ideas that transform and manifest. And this is called the Long Life Era Community. So let's talk about it. What is LLEC about? Why are you doing it? And who the heck cares?
Yeah, well, maybe nobody, but I cared because I ended up in a dark hole. So here's my story about the Long Life Era. And if you come to hear me speak, I do a lot of speaking engagements. I tell this story. I was starting to recognize that in October of 2022 that I was going to be 70 in 2023. And age has never been a thing for me. Like I've never acted my age. I don't think I look my age. I mean, young people may think I look my age, but I never considered myself any age at all. But I had this opportunity in October of 2022 to go to my 51st class reunion. It was delayed a year because of COVID. And I went out on a patio at Spanish Trail Country Club and saw about 120 kids that I had known from 6th grade all the way through graduation. And they just looked amazing. They were full of energy and joy and how much more mature they were from, the insecure 18-year-olds that we were, and coming up against those humans with, you could see in all of us that we had been through our midlife crises, but that we had persevered And, some people lost jobs, some people divorced, some people, God forbid, lost children, but they had been able to continue to live and be strong and still have joy in their hearts. And we're there really to just share our milestone with each other. It was just a beautiful, Las Vegas in October, about the only month of the year you can go outside. And it just
by the way, no bugs here. It's wonderful.
Yeah, right. And it just was no fleas. And so it was just this beautiful evening. Well, I came home and I was higher than a kite, if you will, just, from the joy of it all. And my husband was already asleep. Of course, I learned after the 20th reunion never to bring him to another one because he gets bored, and I didn't want that. So I couldn't just go to bed. I needed to sit down and unwind a little bit. So I turned on TV. I was sitting watching TV, and all of a sudden a commercial comes on TV. It was for open enrollment for Medicare. What struck me about that, and I've seen thousands of them over the last 10, 15 years since this has started, and they never had any impact on me whatsoever. But what happened is this specific commercial was of a group of, if you will, seniors who were out on a patio all together, that were having a barbecue and celebrating being together, which kind of struck me because I just left those people. And I looked at the people that this commercial was portraying, and they didn't look, nor were they dressed, nor was their hair done in a way that looked anything like the 120 people I just left out on the patio. And then the TV camera angle was actually looking down on these people, looking down on them, which made them sound or look, young, or that we needed to talk down to them. And then came the voice of an announcer that literally had a sing-songy voice that sounded like he was talking to kindergartners. So, Mabel, have you made that 1-800 call? Because if you haven't, you should. Just like that. To which the script that Mabel was reading made her sound even dumber than what he wanted to make her look, right? Well, I haven't really thought about it, but maybe I will think about it now. They were dressed the way my grandparents had dressed 30 years earlier. So I literally, suddenly, I went to bed. I didn't think about it, but 3 days later, I chair a meeting at Jewish Nevada and I'm the past board chairman of that organization, but I'm still doing a lot of work. And I went to this meeting that I've chaired for a very long time, and all of a sudden, I was feeling irrelevant. All of a sudden, that commercial got into my head, and I realized that maybe everybody in that room wanted me to just move over and get out of the way, that I was irrelevant and that I was taking up space, that I had come to the end of the road, and not just a road, but a dead end road, and that I needed to get in my box and move that box off to the side of the road and get out of everybody's way. And suddenly I couldn't talk. Suddenly I just had to get out of there. And so I lied, unfortunately, and said, I am so sorry, I'm not feeling well, which really wasn't a lie because I was not feeling well. And I left. And for the next 6 months, one of my friends said, listen, you're going to turn 70 on January 17th. Walk up to it, be as depressed as you want to be. But when it's over, just get on with your life. You're never going to think about it again. So I could hardly wait till that birthday came, because I knew I was going to wake up on the 18th and it was going to all be gone and better. But it wasn't. It just continued to get worse.
So let's put it into higher gear. So out of this difficulty, from the darkness emerged the butterfly.
Yes.
And the butterfly is the long life era community,
right.
Which I tell you, everybody around the world, you can join. You don't have to just live in Las Vegas. It's for everybody in the world. It's on Facebook. And Marla is using that same positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant energy to create a place where people not just feel alive, but live life to the full. Because you're in it, as she calls it, the 4 stages. I won't give it away now. We'll do it. Maybe we'll do another show. How do you like that? But for the moment,
Yeah,
I want
that's
everybody to understand.
But
Please go to-
I just want to say that I started blogging about it and writing about it in my posts. And suddenly I had a following of people saying that they felt the same way and that it was miserable. And so I started this Facebook group, which anybody can join. Just go to Facebook and search Long Life Era Community. So Long Life Era is also part of my business page, but you want to search Long Life Era Community and join. You can also like my business page, which is Marla Letizia, Nanny Bubby, Long Life Era. So it's all in there. But in 1 year, we had over 500 members join. Of course, there's no cost to join. And we are having a ball. We're talking about issues. We have a 5-day exercise challenge.
Okay, so I need to put you on pause because we're at our time era. And I have 3 quick questions. Ready?
Yes.
Number 1, will you come back again?
Oh, I would love to. Thank you.
You're welcome. Number 2, you have 80 seconds only, Marla, to answer this. Marla, what is your most fervent desire?
I want to bring Long Life Era Community to national recognition and to get 120,000 people or more to sign the Long Life Mindset.
Woo! I love it. She's so focused and good. And number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 419,820 people around the world?
You betcha.
Okay, let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. On the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. And from Marla and Barry, a blessing to all of you. Go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Don't go away. Wonderful Marla.